In Detroit, I always say that the music found you rather than you found it. Influences for Detroit techno were everywhere. You couldn't walk down the street without being influenced by something. The environment, community, the economy. You can hear the climate of Detroit in the music. I'm Mike Huckaby from Detroit, DJ, producer, remixer, educator, and sound designer. I find myself in a fortunate position around a lot of chaos. The economy isn't doing so well in Detroit, but the underground is doing well and is taking us around the world. Earlier this year, I went to Egypt, and I'm actually sampling the rocks from the Step Pyramid in Egypt in Saqqara. These are newer rocks that I collected, and from these rocks, I actually can export harmonics and play chords from those harmonics. So this is actually the tone of this rock, believe it or not. I think that most Detroit producers are simply doing what they do best under the circumstances of what they are using to produce music with. It's not always about reinventing the wheel. It's about doing what you do very well to begin with. The city of Detroit will have less than enough money to run the entire city by the end of the year. When you hear that information, it does send a chill down your spine, but at the same time, it makes you focus harder on cultivating your craft as a Detroit electronic music producer. Detroit techno, it was the way out and continues to be the way out. It's estimated that more than half of the students in Detroit public schools will not graduate. Right now we're at Youthville in Detroit. The goal of Youthville is to prevent a student from being socially, racially, or culturally isolated within society, and to increase the graduation rates, provide a safe place for the students to be, and show them a bit of hope in a situation where it may not exist. I teach 2 classes in Youthville. I'm not only teaching music production, I'm teaching the art of discipline. I try to tell students that if they study, if they practice, and if they keep coming to class, that they will make it. Being in Detroit, there's not really much going on. There's always a need to create music and to do that primarily in order to survive.
Nothing to do in the city. It's like everything's out in the suburbs 50 miles away.
Like the teenagers are bored, so they can't do nothing else but like find friends and then make a gang, then it gets big and then they make more trouble. It's getting worse and worse because they keep taking things away from the youth. Hard to get out of Detroit. Hard to get out of the mind of gangbanging and all this stuff. For me, I wouldn't last without music, so anything that involves making beats, I'll be doing that. I like making a lot of new school music, trap, hip-hop, rap. When I grow up, I want to be a producer. I want to own my own record label and build from there.
Music is used as an escape. You have to have a passion for music in order to do it for the rest of your life, or else it's just going to be like a job.
I know I can't get a real job. I'm not going to a cubicle. Dance music, you know, we started it. A lot of people in Detroit don't talk about it like, oh, we have dance music. I love techno. Like, we don't think of it as something that we have, but we have it.
I knew Detroit started techno and all that. I didn't think that it was such a big deal. Now that I'm going more and more into music and I see how much people appreciate, they treat Detroit like the promised land of techno. I feel real fortunate that I'm in Detroit. I'm fortunate to be born here.
Spending time with a kid, talking to a kid, showing a kid a more positive thing to do with his time, these things are exponentially valuable. It's usually these intangible assets that wind up being more important than the class being taught itself. There was such a drastic need for something like this. It plays such a strong role within the family, within the communities, and throughout Detroit. Once you can see that that's needed, you want to simply continue doing this work. When I'm packing my records for a party, I'm basically trying to tell a story throughout the night. Deep House is always conveying a sense of well-being and peace upon the listener, so I'm trying to convey a message of peace, and then I might want to introduce an emotion based around chaos or calamity, and that's usually when you take the tempo up a bit. Techno does have a much more aggressive angle towards emotions conveyed in the music. But you really want to use the crowd to convey emotion and elicit an emotional response from the crowd itself. Each significant electronic city has their time. Detroit is popular now. There's a strong wave of consistent producers. There's a strong wave of producers that really never came into their own time, and their time is now. Right now, a lot of people want to hear a different story told by different people. People are starting to see that there's a lot more information missing that shapes or tells the Detroit story. We're right up on the brink of a calamity or something breaking through and being successful. You just have to ride with that and cultivate your skills as much as you can.